Hey all, Dino the Ops Guy here. We're back. It is episode 30 of Production Management Practice, or Stardew Production Management 101, however you would like to call it. This is an internet-ready, YouTube-friendly, university-level production management course that you can get free online. And we are on episode 30, so that means there are essentially 29 episodes preceding this that you may want to look at, not want to look at. It's up to you. We are on day 30, not so much coincidentally, even though I don't know that there's any need for a day to be an episode. It just works out very, very well, certainly from how I manage the system in sort of the back office measure that we will actually talk about a bit today. So for episode 30, we just finished, well, the 28th was the end of spring, and so we're in summer now. This is the second day of summer. The first day was just a bit crazy with planting and all that. So the second day I wanted to take a review of what had gone on in the spring and just sort of the metrics around it and how we're doing. Every once in a while, whether it's a month, a quarter, a year, companies typically do an operational and or strategic review. So I'd like to do today, or episode 30, the operational review, and then on day 31 or summer 3, the strategic review, as well as the day of production. So let's get to that. Operationally, spring was, I thought, very, very good. We did 77,000 G of production value added, and we can break that down to foraging was 20,418. Farming was 1 G under 35,000. I don't know how those numbers work out, but sure. Fish, as far as fishing, we did 5,000 of value added and 17,000 of value added for mining. Operationally, we had essentially almost $8,000 of expenses broken down between eating and building, and that does not include when we're doing building was the investment for ourselves. But if we're donating to Gunther or if we're doing bundles, then I wouldn't call that an operating expense. It's sort of, part of what we do. That's, sort of the strategic, sort of grow. Maybe I should reclassify those as operating expenses as well, but I'm not going to right now. So essentially, I think you were doing really well. We did, as again, $77,000 worth of turnover, you'd sort of call it in the UK. But the only thing that's sort of reflected in Stardew Valley, sort of on the front end, is the 42,935 total earnings, which I think is really, really good. I mean, you compare that to previous runs I have, that's exceptional. And I don't know how it compares to your runs. Certainly, if you wanted to trick out the game, you could do a lot better. So I'm not picking up the free stuff like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that you get on, I gotta think it's spring 17. I didn't pick up. There's a few things I just didn't even bother with because that's not part of running operations, right? So yeah, if you wanted to basically trip out the game so that you knew exactly where you could find ancient fruit seed on the first day and then plant it, I'm sure you can do better. But if you're playing a vanilla game, I think 43,000 total earnings is a good game. And more importantly, if we're looking at sort of the, how to learn production management, how to learn operations management, the more important part is the back office piece of the 77,000 and how did we get there? So there's no guaranteed, there's no net correlation. I toyed with that a bit to see, show the 77,000 and show what the difference is for the 42,000, but it's a bit murky. So we'll just leave it that they're different numbers. So how did we do it? How do we know that? Essentially, I mentioned this before, but it's worth mentioning again that there's a ledger that I keep, sort of column for the day. And this, I just took a snapshot from day 21, which is spring 21. The time, it looks like it's between 4 o'clock and 6:50. And then I have an index time which starts essentially first thing in the morning. So 6 a.m. is 0, and then 7 a.m. is 1 hour, and etc. You don't really need that. That's just something I do to keep things straight in some side. And then I'll indicate what the action is, whether it's mining, whether it's building, whether it's eating, whether I use battle gain to mean like battles in the mine where we gain something from it. And you can see, so for example, when we built the coop, I say that's quantity 1, but that corresponds to a cash outlay of 44,000 G. Also, a material outlay of 300 wood and an outlay of 100 stone. So you can see how everything's lined up. And on the top, right under cash, you have 4466. That's how much cash I have at the end of today, because I'm just showing you a snapshot. But actually, it would be end of last episode, because I haven't processed today's episode. How much is in the shipping container? And then for the commodities, 295 wood, 59 stone, 60, etc. So I can keep track. Now, this is a lot of work. And I don't just mean it's a lot of work to make this. It's also a lot of work to maintain this, because every once in a while I'll find I have 296 wood and it says I have 295 wood, and I have to find that last piece of wood. And sometimes I put something in the wrong column, and sometimes I put the number right under quantity, but somehow it gets messed up when usually I use a formula, but sometimes it gets messed up when I put it onto the sort of the column that is needed. But essentially all of these, wood, stone, coal, hardwood, are an account, and it's a running account so that I can update either up or down based on what's going on at the time, what I'm processing, etc. And with all this, I can go back and I can say, all right, anything has to do with battle gain and mining are under the mine category, so I can put those together, as well as processing geodes, as well as smelting ore. All of that to say, that's how much value added I got from mining, because I know, for example, smelting ore, I put in a a 5G iron ore, I think it's 5G, times 5, so 25 G investment, and I'm going to get, I don't know what it is, 60 out. So the net of that is how much I've done in that processing. I don't just look at how much value I get on the end. It's how much value I've added from the raw materials that go in. So I mine a certain amount, get some value, and then I process it a certain amount and I get some more value, so that the total is the total value of what I have, essentially. So we can break it down, given that we've done this analysis. And when we break it down, we see foraging, we got essentially 20,000 in spring of foraging, and these were the numbers from before, but showing you how when I get foraging, part of it's foraging at the beach, that's the purple band, and then part of it is wood and pine cones and that sort of thing, that's the green band, the resource. And then if I'm blending, that's where I'm taking, well, let's start with the bottom. The blue is when I'm picking up a wild horseradish, or I'm picking up a leek, etc. The red band, the blend, that's how much money I made over and above blending those together to make the seeds and selling them as seeds. So yeah, it's a nice hit to get. We got essentially a couple thousand there, but it doesn't make or break the equation. But you can see, sort of on a relative basis, I've done forage, farm, fish, and mining, trying to line them up as best I can. They're kind of in different graphs, especially since foraging and farming, you have well, foraging you don't. Mining, you have negative values. Probably should have lined up mining with anyway. Farm, you have negative because we're putting money into the ground to make it return. So if you look at the farm value added spring chart on the top right, you see the blue bars along the bottom. That's how much I've planted in the ground. That's negative, and sort of negative return, if you will. But that facilitates the red harvest that's above it. And then above that is, once we put some of that harvest component into a jar, it's going to add value, which is that purple piece. And of course, once it's in the jarring machine, it's lost for a bit, so that's the green piece at the bottom. So every sort of green matches up with a purple, with sort of a 3-day time lag kind of thing, to show you what's going on in that. So that is a bit confusing. So I also added, probably to make it more confusing, but it's not meant to be more confusing. There's a light blue line, a cyan line or cyan line, I never know how to pronounce that. which shows you what it is, the orange less the blue. Essentially, that line shows you how much value added we have had at any given point with how much we've received harvest versus how much is still in the ground being planted, kind of thing. Now, the nice thing with this cycle is it's at the end of spring, so the stuff in the ground doesn't matter anymore. So if we have 2 green bean plants, yeah, they were valuable during the spring, but they're not any valuable anymore. So that blue kind of, is moot, which makes this cycle of reporting kind of nice. So what you see here is the top right farm has the biggest return. I've set them all at 50,000 top lines. It's far, well, I would say, pretty significantly ahead of everything else. That what we're getting the most out of is farming, which isn't surprising for a game that's kind of focused on farming. That shouldn't be that big of a surprise, right? So we can see that foraging is probably the second best, getting into the 20s, and then mining 10 or so, and then fish. To be fair, we've only really done fishing for strategic reasons. We haven't done. We'll see the odd ring sometimes, but and then the top, the pink, the orange part, the potted, really is the crab pots. So how much we're making off of those crab pots. I have not added recycling in here. I probably should, because there's a couple days of recycling at least, but it's not going to make a big difference. So what you're seeing is sort of in one view what's going on as far as how we've done in each of the areas of foraging, farming, fishing, and mining. So if we want to break out just farming, given that it's the best we had, right? We can see on day 11 that the watering can gets upgraded, and then a couple days after that, or pretty much almost right away, a day after that maybe, the blue starts shooting down. So that kind of shows you that that we've planted more, we've invested more underground, which leads to either 4 to 13 days or 4 to 12 days later, that spike up starting with the 18th and the 19th kind of thing to respond to those numbers. As well, the strawberries we buy on day 13, and that really drives a lot of that acceleration, that sort of turn of our return on harvest. So you can see a bit of what's going on. And then again, I put the blue line for the farm net and orange for the jar net. Bottom left, I've just done a separate graph of those two, so you can see at any given point, are we above or below dollar value? Early on, first, second, third day, of course, we're going to be below dollar value because we have more in the ground than we have harvested. So but eventually that catches up, but you can see sort of that swing which follows those two lines. So that gives you a feel, and without doing some sort of operational metrics, whether it's using the accounting data and rejigging it for what we want, or in some cases augmenting it with our own data. And in my case, I'm just creating an accounting system because I don't have accountants around me doing anything right now for Stardew Valley. So it's important to have not only an accounting system that keeps track of this, but specifically a system that operations can use for the numbers that they are looking for. Really, there are 2 types of metrics, and I want to sort of get to this. Maybe I should have my own slide on this, but the 2 types of metrics are descriptive metrics and normative metrics. Descriptive metrics tell you, are you on the right track? Are we doing well? It's the thumbs up and the thumbs down kind of thing. If you were looking at a car dashboard, the speedometer is the descriptive metric. It says, yes, we're going to get there on time, or no, we're not going to get there on time, or something's really, really wrong. Normative metrics are everything else on the dashboard, such as the gas gauge and the tachometer and the heat gauge and the voltage gauge and all the other things. Normative metrics are what we can look at to find out what we can do better or why are things wrong. You never want to confuse a descriptive metric, which tells you are you doing well or not, and a normative metric, which tells you how you could do better. So for example, the classic example, I deal with it all the time. There's a metric called overall equipment effectiveness, or OEE, and it really is a normative metric to say, if we're not doing well, let's look at the performance issues, the quality issues, and then the uptime issues to say which of those is giving us the biggest problems, how can we address those, whatever. But invariably, upper management typically wants to use OEE as not a normative metric as it should be, but as a descriptive metric, and it just does not work. The problem with using OEE as a descriptive metric is it really is subjective as to what do you consider. Is it a 24-hour cycle? Is it a 7-day-a-week cycle? Is it a 365-day cycle? Because when we look at availability or uptime, we need the denominator ideally to be everything. But if there's no way you're going to be in on the weekend, then it doesn't make sense to have a lower OEE to penalize you, or maybe it does. You just accept that you're going to have a lower number overall. So a typical OEE, most managers think you should get an 80 or 90. In reality, it's usually about 30 or 40 if you're doing really well, if you're doing it properly. Now, again, if you're cutting out the weekends or you're finessing it in other ways, it'll look better. But the point is, it in itself doesn't mean you're good or you're bad. It tells you where to look next for your next big win. You need a different metric, a descriptive metric, such as sales, such as return on orders, such as something to say we are doing well and we are doing not. So the descriptive metric here is going to be, we're getting to this lift per plot per day. So if I'm getting a good lift per plot per day in farming, then I know I am doing well. That is my thumbs up or my thumbs down. If that is not working, then I can look to, are crows eating my crops? Am I not getting them watered properly? All these other metrics which really lead to normative metrics to help me understand why the descriptive metric is not working. But in this case, our descriptive, because time is of the importance from a bottleneck standpoint, lift per plot per day tells me how much am I getting for every time I essentially water or accept a rain kind of thing. So to get to those, I start with, in strawberries, we had 20 plots. Potatoes, we had 5 plots. Cauliflower, we had 101 plots. Green beans, we had, and these are, of course, plants. Green beans, we had 2 plants or plots. And parsnips, we had 163. Notice that the 5 potato, we only bought 2 potatoes, plants, 2 potato seeds. Cauliflower, again, we didn't buy 101. Parsnips, we didn't buy 163, but we did plant mixed seeds, which could be a potato or a cauliflower and or a parsnip. So those numbers reflect that we could have either purchased the seed on its own, or we could have purchased or found foraged a mixed seed, put it in the ground, and said, oh, it's a potato, that sort of thing. So we can take those numbers, 25, 101, 2, and 163, and say, well, how many days were they in the ground? Well, the strawberries, they were in the ground 15 days because we bought them on the 13th and we went to the 28th. So that's 15 days, and I put RG there, meaning there's regrowth. Unlike a parsnip, which grows for 4 days and then dies, or you harvest it, the strawberry plant is going to stay there the entire time. We are going to water it the entire time. So the days, strawberry has 15, potato normally for 6 for each plant, cauliflower 12 for each plant, parsnip 4 for each plant, and the green beans, again, we planted on day 3. So in a 28-day season, that leaves us watering at 25 days. So from those, we can say the total number of plot days. For strawberry, we had 20 plots over 15 days, so 300 times we had to water if there was no rain. Potato, 30 times. Cauliflower, 1,212 waterings, if you will, etc. Green beans, 50, and parsnips, 652. For those waterings, we got income of 8,745, 814, 23, 184, 583, 6307 for strawberry, potato, cauliflower, green bean, and parsnip, respectively. If we subtract how much the seeds cost us, so we can just get the value added, the lift for those strawberries was 6,345. For the potatoes, it was 564, and you can see the rest of them. And then when we divide that by the number of days, we end up with a lift per plot per day of 21.15 strawberry, 18.8 potato, 12.462 for cauliflower, 9.26 for green beans, and 4.7 for parsnips. That shows you the return. Now, parsnips are really low, but they have the nice feature that they're so short we can usually use them where we can't use other plants, or we can use them to get cash quickly so we can move up to other plants. So it makes sense that we would plant parsnips certainly early on. Green bean was just a strategic play. We would not plant a whole bunch of green beans just because we don't get a good return on those. Potatoes, we did exceptionally well. So the way we just got lucky is the answer for that. The way potatoes work is when you plant them, you get one potato out with a 20% chance of getting another potato, and then if you do get another potato, a 20% chance that you'll get another potato, etc., and it becomes sort of a multiple dice. On 5 plants, we got 9 potatoes. That's really good. You would expect 1.25 return. We got 1.5 or whatever return, a much higher return. So that 18.8 is not consistent with what you normally expect. If you did the adjustment to 1.25 yield, you'd end up with like a 14.5. Still a good return. Still better than the cauliflower return. Now the big difference is if I put a cauliflower in a jar versus a potato in a jar, then from seed I get a much better return for the cauliflower than I would have for the potato. The cauliflower in spring is pretty much the best return I could have gotten for I guess strawberry could be too. Anyway, at this point, if you look at harvested cauliflower, it is better than harvested strawberry. So all of this to say, and then of course I have the quality line on the bottom. That's just sort of incidental. If they were all base, it would be 1. If they were all gold, it would be 1.5. So you're getting a feel for what they are. And you'll notice that the crops that were later on, parsnip was our first crop. It is poor quality because our farming has improved, but the parsnips were still around. And for strawberries, it was right at the end, so we were getting really good quality. In fact, we had a harvest at the last day of 20 strawberries, so that's really good. That we've appreciated how much farm. So all this to say, what was our best return? Farming. And what was our best crop return in farming? Strawberries. We will also see a big, and this will have more impact going forward, is on the jarring side. We're going to see a good return from our cauliflower, but it's going to get, and because the cauliflower is just so valuable, the net price, it starts at 175. So if you double or triple that, double 2.5 whatever times that versus a parsnip, which is only like 35, you're going to do a lot better per jar kind of thing. So cauliflower is going to be a big player going forward. But all that to say, if I was giving you advice on spring, strawberries. The second piece of advice is I probably should have put in more, or have put in more potatoes, especially after the last harvest of cauliflower. So once we're in the last, let's say, 10 days of spring, planting a bunch of potatoes would not have hurt us. That would have probably given us a little more money than we have now. But otherwise, I think we played it straight. We put in green beans for strategy. We needed we needed a green bean for our bundles. So that was how we were going to get it. We put in some potatoes again for the bundles. And then parsnips. The trick was to get as much money turnover, because it's a really good turnover thing, to get up to the point where we can invest in cauliflower and strawberries, because they were the big winners. Cool. So after all that was a long review. We're going to go to Av, and Av has a few things in mind. It's raining today. It's raining again. So we'd like to make those lightning rods. I know at least we can make one, depending on how much iron we have. We have more than enough bat wing. And then the other trick is going to be our refined quartz. We can get that from recycling machine, but it doesn't make as much sense to hang out at the recycling machine waiting for it if there's better things to do. So I'll leave that up to Av. Certainly get to the coop, pet the chicks, process the eggs. We need a third scarecrow. We're kind of exposed, certainly when it comes to the hops and stuff. We got a Stardrop tea from the gift machine, the ticket machine. So I think I was thinking about a few things to do with this. If we give it to Linus, we get a sooner wild bait, which is good. But Caroline is the only person who can give us the tea bush. So Caroline has a recipe for the tea bush. So I think what we're going to use is invest the Stardrop tea with Caroline, and get closer to the tea bush. That has some advantages that other plants don't typically have. So go with that. And then if there's free time, certainly this probably shouldn't even be free time. It is summer. It is raining. Red snapper and eel are necessary for our bundles. So do what you can to get those. So I am now going to turn it over to Av. Av, take it away. Okay, thanks, Dino. Yeah, it's raining out. We're gonna get our hair wet, so well, we will get used to it. And the spirits are in good humor today. That's awesome. We will pet meow. Hi meow. And we have some honey, and we are going to put that honey away in the special honey chest. It's a bee item, so we're gonna. It has its own chest. Let's get rid of some of this stuff. Welcome back, by the way. Get some eggs. Say hi to the ladies. And I usually preload the hay. So there's already hay in there. Tomorrow we're going to have to reload that. That's something we have to do. We're going to get our fish pots. And get rid of the stone. So yeah, we were in a hurry yesterday, so we didn't get some of this basic cleanup stuff. Let's dump the periwinkle. We will sell the snails. We're going to be at the beach, so we can do that directly. Not that we need this stuff today. That's okay. So we've made one lightning rod. We do want to get a second lightning rod. It is lightning out, so that's prime for getting some batteries. That's a nice way to get batteries. And we do have the we're going to kiln and smelt. We're getting a little sort of cycle routine here. Put the wood, keep one coal, so now we have 2 coals, so now we have 2 iron. We want to keep one of those iron for our situation here. Make another bee house. 2 more bee houses, actually. So these are really good investments. So I'm purposely putting a pattern so I can see. We're going to make one more bee house, but I want to see the poppies come up. And the trick here is it'll take 6 days for the poppy. We're a couple of days in. The timing should be about right. But if the honey comes before the poppy comes, we want to leave it for the next day, because you don't get the premium for flower honey unless there is a flower. And if you pick the flower before the honey, you lose it. So it's pretty finicky. So now we have 2 lightning rods. That's good. I think that's pretty much all we need for now. I mean, we could get more, but we got other fish to fry. We do want to add another. We got a lot of coal. We've been really diligent about using the kiln. So we got another preserve jar. That's going to help out. Those are a really good return. We are going to set up the torch so that we can see. This is one of the things I was saying, that in the middle of the night I was trying to plant things and I couldn't see what I had planted or where I had planted. There was a group of 3 that I completely missed. So, and we got some spiceberry. We're into the summer stuff already. So, as we were saying before, we wanted to leave these weeds until summer. Now that it is summer, we can certainly harvest them. And we're going to get, in some cases, some not just the mixed seeds, which are valuable, but the mixed flower seeds, which we can only get during the summer. They are also valuable, but exclusive to summer. So let's take advantage of that. Now, I probably could take out an axe or a pickaxe and sort of make a better path through these. But I'm just trying to focus, not lose too much time. Probably losing time in the process of not losing too much time. You know, you focus on one thing, the unintended consequences. Because we do want to get to the ocean so that we can fish. But we, where possible, want to get what we can here. And make our way. So We do have a fair bit. We got 4 mixed flower seeds and 7 mixed seeds. So we'll fill in where, let's put the flowers. If the flowers are too close to the honey, then on some occasions you'll find that the honey follows the wrong flower. So for example, the 2 flowers in summer are poppy and summer spangle. We would like poppy honey and not necessarily summer spangle honey. So we're going to focus on the poppy. We do not see any forage items near the bus stop. We will continue on through. We do have, I don't know if you noticed, after we planted the mixed seeds, I left 12, we're not going to get radish in time. I left 12 spots, and I can give Carolyn the tea now. I left 12 spots so that we could plant some more melons, because the melons are going to be similar to the cauliflower return. They're the Mac Daddy return plus jar option. So they will give us the best both plant return and jar return. I didn't expect that the potatoes would do better than the cauliflower before, but even again, knowing what we can do with the jars, I was happy with the cauliflower investment. Oh, there he is. Okay, so this is where, yeah, I usually skip that cut scene with the crabs. So let's do some fishing. The only thing is, I notice now we only have 10 bait. So at some point we're going to have to go back and either buy some for Willie at extreme prices or just make our own. We got a red mullet. That's good. So red mullets are good cash fish. They don't really have any other purpose. There's no bundle to them. I don't know of any good recipes for them. So it's just we're going to convert them. That and halibut. Halibut is even a better cash fish. So if we got a red snapper. So up until I think it's 2 o'clock, we don't near maybe noon, whatever. Oh, it's after 2 anyway. So we could still catch an eel now. But yeah, we did want to get the red snapper before 4. Oh, good timing. And we do want to catch an eel. An eel would be great because then it would, another red mullet. Eel would give us the bundle that we want, or the bundle item, the strategic item that we want. So we'll keep an eye for those eels. We're doing really well with the red mullets. Even though we're doing really well with the seaweed, we don't need seaweed. I mean, at some point maybe we'll use it as food, but other than that, we just sell it. It's not a very valuable fish, especially compared to a red mullet or compared to a halibut. So, but we put up with it. Oh, we've used our last bait. All right, let's sell what we got. It's just before 5. Perfect. And then we're going to get some more bait and come back. So I didn't actually look at forage items before, kind of anticipating that we may be short on time. So these I don't necessarily need to give to Willie right now. Given that we're already going back to the farm, I'll just put them in the shipper. And that will take care of that. Along the way, we are going to check to see if we see a grape. That would be good because that is the last item that we need for the summer foraging bundle. So just sort of keep an eye for a grape. I don't see any, and if we get, oh, of course, if we see weeds, we'll take those. And there's another sweet pea. No, we do not see any grapes. So we will drop off what we need. We will put stuff in the shipper. Coming from, oh, we got some more moss. Nice. So the trick with moss now, I'm trying to get 10 so that we can get a mushroom log. There will come a day when there's green rain and we will have more than enough moss we need, but until then, it's in short supply. We don't have 10. We have, I think, 4 or 6, but the nice thing about moss as well is that if you match it with bait, it'll make a better bait. So we're going to do that, at least with one set, to see if we can, if that helps us find the eel. So we're going to sell all the forage stuff. And we are going to clean this up and eventually make our way back. So we will take 10, even after we've used the special bait, we do want to have some left over for fishing and for the pots. So we're just going to load the 10 or so bait in the fishing rod and then have the rest left over for when we run out of that bait, or when we're basically looking at the crab pots. So that'll be good to have. It is getting a bit dark, though. It's already just after 8. Making our way back. I tend to have better luck later, and maybe that's just the nature of how I fish, but I tend to have better luck later at night with eel. Again, it just could be that it's the last thing I think of, and it's the middle of the night. I'm wondering if we should have gone to the longer dock, though. I haven't looked at the depth tables for a while, but it's probably easier with a deeper. I don't know if it's the same depth here as it is at the end of the longer dock, but if it's deeper, you tend to do better with pricier fish, or harder to find fish. So eel would be in that category. So we did get a halibut. That's good. And we got, of course, some more seaweed. So let's see what we can do here. It's funny. It's that does look a bit like an eel, but it also looks like a halibut. So halibut has a temptation to move down pretty quickly. Eel has a temptation to just be sporadic. So it's hard to tell this difference. And we got a treasure here. A ruby! Nice! Oh, we've used our last piece of bait. So we're going to reload the bait, but we're also going to go to the end of the longer dock. And we get tripped up because it's so dark and we can't see where we're walking. So once we get the light ring, that'll be better. And even out here, we're getting seaweed. That's a bit annoying. So it's funny. Every once in a while, I'll have my rod in. I'll be looking for the signal that there's a bite, and I'll see lightning, and then I'll miss that as the signal. So, all right, we're feeling exhausted. It's time to pull out the seaweed. That's what we have it for. Let's have a bite of seaweed. It's getting pretty late. Otherwise, I'd say 2 bites of seaweed. We still need time to get back to the farm. Oh, we got more seaweed. This is not and we're feeling exhausted. And it's midnight. Hopefully this is the eel. No, it's a can of Joja Cola. That's actually good. There's a lot of quests for Joja Cola. I know Pam likes Joja Cola. Shane likes Joja Cola. There's a few. So having one nearby, I usually keep it with the crab pot stuff, is not a bad thing for quests. So that's good. And if you want a little bit of a boost, it's not quite coffee, but you're faster. I think for 15 seconds or something like that. It's a pretty quick burst, but if you're coming back from the mines and you're running late, sometimes that's enough to put you through. So we do want to move all of our stuff. This chest was getting a bit crowded. We were not following our ABC, so we want to get our minerals out here where they belong. So that'll leave up open up a little room in that chest. We will put the cola out here. We're going to put in another item that is going to return a refined quartz. We will dump our mayonnaise because we've earned it. And we're just gonna go to bed. Having the spice berry isn't the end of the world. In the middle of the night, there's an earthquake. Ooh. We're going to say fish over tappers. You know what that means? The train station's now open. So, I don't know if it's going to be the first thing we do tomorrow or the next day, but at some point we're going to have to take a look at the train station. The weather is going to be clear and sunny. Yay! And the fortunes are going to be good luck. And we got a rerun for radish salad. Back to you, Dino. Okay, thanks, Av. We have done a few things. We did make the lightning rod. We did take care of the chickens and process the eggs. Av, you did not build the 3rd scarecrow. So we're a bit exposed. I don't think it's the end of the world. But certainly the risk of the scarecrow not being there is we could lose one of the hops. Given that a hops returns once it's in regrowth stage every day, essentially we could be losing 3 days, 3 hops, whatever. They're not that valuable. I mean, they're valuable enough, especially after you put them in the keg. But it's something that we want to address on day 31 or summer 4, so or summer 3. So come summer 3, I'm going to put that back up. We did fish. We got the red snapper. We did not get the eel, but not for lack of trying. Certainly, Av did a great job of having that fishing line in pretty consistently, and smart to add the moss, the 2 moss for the bait, just to give us a bit of a leg up. The other thing we could have done was use the ocean jelly or the sea jelly to increase our fishing skill, or just buy I think it's baked trout from Willie that can increase our fishing skill. It's something that we can consider if we're getting close to not being able to get the eel. But for now, we're okay. It's only day 2 of summer. A lot of summer left. So hopefully that covers things. That's all we're going to do for episode 30. In episode 31, though, we are going to get into the strategic review, get a bit more to what's going on with the bundles and how we're tracking that, and what's a good descriptive metric for a bundle situation like that. We will also get into the bottleneck situation and how we can have a better descriptive measure given the bottleneck, or at least our attempts to get a better descriptive metric. But that's all coming in episode 30, the next episode. Until then, if there's anything that you want to comment on, happy to read the comments to make it easier, to make the learning better, to get into areas that you feel have not been covered well and we want to cover, that fit on the pedagogy of production management. But love to have you back for the next episode as well. This is Dino the Ops Guy, signing off.